I'm going to show you guys how to make a scrunchie. So, I will be showing you how to make that scrunchie into this. Obviously not this fabric, but. So, you take in here, let's find our fabric. You find your fabric that you have cut. This one is fairly thick because I cut it a little bit too long, but that's okay. You take that. Make sure you cut it into about, well, these ones are fairly thick. If you get the fat quarter, I'd say about 2 inches. So if you get the fat quarter at Walmart for 98 cents, they come in lines like this. So just cut along each of those lines. And you can really make them as thick as you want. I'd say at least 1.5 inches max. So then you're going to take this and you're going to fold it like that. So it's this way, obviously straighter. So it's like this. Then you're going to stitch down like that. Pretty sides together like that. You put it on your sewing machine that you have threaded and bobbed in, whatever. Then you're going to take it, make sure it's in here. My dial is broke, so I have to actually hold it up here and do it with one hand most of the time. So then you're just going to go through and start sewing. Back stitch if you want to, or don't. Apparently my sewing machine decided it doesn't want to back stitch today. So just chop that off. And then clean it up some. Nope. This thing never likes to work. Alright, we're having a slight malfunction. I will be right back. So, put your fabric up under there. We're just gonna clamp it down. It doesn't really matter where it's at. So once you do that, you're gonna, don't back stitch on this part if your sewing machine is very old and doesn't like to back stitch. You're just gonna go down, I have to hold up here. So just stitch down this line, make sure it's at least mainly straight. And once you get to the end, I'm gonna show you what to do after that. You've gotten to the end, you are going to flip it inside out. This is hard to do with one hand. So flip it so it's like this. Flipped it, you're going to take your cutout piece of elastic. Doesn't matter how long it is. Usually you want it to be about the size of your wrist. So you're going to take that and you're going to take a safety pin. Oh, this is one of my big ones. Then you're going to take your safety pin and you're going to poke it through the elastic. And then lock the safety pin in place. Then you're going to put it through here. And once it's through here, make sure to clip it, and I'll show you what to do. Then you're going to want to take your needle and thread it. Doesn't really matter what color thread you're doing. Just tie a big knot at the end. I do about 4 to 6 knots, depending on how the knot looks. It doesn't really matter how it looks because it'll be, inside of the scrunchie. So then you're going to take your scrunchie, and you're going to want to go. Make sure you have it safety pinned. So then, at this point, you just take it like this. You just push it through the hole. My elastic's being very difficult today. Push it through the hole. And then just give it a quick little stitch and you'll be good. Alright, so now that you have finished off your stitching, it doesn't look the greatest, but it's going to be on the inside, so who's going to see? So then you're going to take your needle. I just placed mine on my knee for right now. Straighten out your scrunchie so that the seam matches up on one side, usually on the top. So then, this is actually going to be a really big scrunchie. I didn't realize that. So, don't go with about 2 inches, go with like 1.5 inches for sewing. So then you're just going to fold it over a bit so you can't see this raw edge. Then you're just going to fold it over. And then you're going to take the other piece and fold it over also. So it doesn't really matter how thick you go because of how big your scrunchie accidentally is. Then you're going to take your needle and you're going to put it in right here, right next to the seam. Put it in right there next to the seam. You're going to pull it through. And if it comes out, you need to tie another knot in it. Then what you're going to do, you're going to take it and you're going to put it on the other side, right next to the seam, and pull. And now your scrunchie's hooked. So then, what you're going to do next is the same exact thing. You're going to go in right here. You're going to put in another stitch. And you're going to pull it. So it makes like a little X. So then you're gonna go in right here, same side, and go right there. I start at the top on the seams so that the seams are hooked together. Then you're gonna come back in here and stitch it again. And you just keep going like this until you go around and around, all the way until your scrunchie's done. And I'll show you how to end it and see the finished product. So, also a little fact about me, I used to strictly only hand sew because my mom wouldn't let me use a sewing machine because she said I didn't know how to, but she didn't know how to use it, so she didn't want to teach me how. So then I ripped a hole in one of my favorite pair of jeans when I was about 9. So I called up my grandma, who has recently passed away, sadly, and I was like, Nanny, I need to fix a hole in my pants. Mom says just throw them away, but I don't want to throw them away because they're my favorite pair of pants. She said, well, Alana, this is what you do. So get out some thread and get out your needle and get out a pair of scissors and your pants. I had gotten a sewing, like a small sewing book that year for Christmas from my other grandparents. So I took it and then I got out and we were actually on FaceTime. She had just learned how to FaceTime and I was on my iPod Touch. Very poor quality. But so she said, you're gonna take this. She tied a knot in her shoelace and then took her shoelace off and then poked it through a piece of paper and then started feeding it through like this. She said, that's how you're gonna do it and make sure it's wrong side out so that it'll come out pretty. So I nodded and I started doing that. And that's how I've learned to sew. And I haven't watched any videos on how to hand sew or how to use a sewing machine. The only video I watched on how to use a sewing machine was how to rethread my bobbin or like put it back in there because I had never used a sewing machine and we moved a bunch and it had gotten dropped so many times and we didn't know how to use it because my mom was like, it's just an $80 sewing machine that's 16 years old, so I have no clue how to use it, so YouTube it. So I YouTubed it, and so far from there, I've just kind of gone off on my own. I've taught myself the different... My thread just broke. Well, hold on, now I gotta end this and rethread it. Alright, and the way to finish it off, so you've gotten to the end, you're gonna take it and you're gonna put it through both pieces of fabric at the same time by the hem where you first started. Push it up a little bit, not all the way through. You're gonna take your extra thread and flip it around about 2 or 3 times and then pull it, and I guess it'll snap off. Normally it doesn't do that, but that's fine. So once you've finished that, your knot should have been tied, which it was, and just snip it off. And, oh, I got that. Now you have a scrunchie. Normally they're not this big, as you can tell from normal ones to this one. It's kind of big, but I could only make 2 with this fabric because my friends cut it wonky when they were messing with my fabric. And yeah, so normally it's this size, but now it's this size. So cut about this as 1.5 inches or so, or as if you want it this big, do 2 inches. This is 1.5 inches, and very tiny ones like this are 1 inch, and it all depends on how wide you do your hole. So I hope you enjoyed and come back for my next tutorial. Thank you.